High profit and low stress. When you think about trading, those two phrases don't exactly sound like they belong in the same sentence, do they? Nope. Most of us think of trading as high anxiety, staring at screens all day, and taking these massive risks. But what if there was another way? A structured method to not only go after profits, but to actually strip the stress out of the whole process. Well, let's dive into a system designed to do just that. And this quote right here, "Out of adversity comes inspiration." Well, that was the personal mantra of George Fontanills, the guy behind the system we're talking about today. It's a really powerful idea, and it sets the stage for a trading philosophy that wasn't just born from a textbook, but from some serious life experience. Okay, so let's start with the big question, the one everyone asks. Why do most traders fail? If you ask around, you'll hear things like, oh, it's bad luck, or the market's just too crazy, or they didn't know enough. But Fontanells argued that the real reason, it's something way more personal. It's something that happens inside our own heads. And that brings us right to the heart of the matter, stress. That emotional roller coaster you feel watching your money bounce up and down, that's what causes the panic. It's what leads to terrible decisions, and ultimately, it's what causes people to fail. So the solution isn't just to get better at handling stress. It's to build a system where stress is basically designed out of the equation from the very start. You see, Fontanells' entire perspective was shaped by a life-changing battle with Hodgkin's disease when he was just 18. That experience really drove his whole philosophy on life and money. Even after getting an MBA from Harvard, he found the corporate world just wasn't for him. He got into real estate, and that's where he first stumbled upon the power of an option. This idea that you could control a really valuable asset for just a little bit of cash. And that's when the light bulb went off. He realized this concept could be an absolute game changer in the financial markets. That realization, that was the spark. It led him to create this whole system he called optionetics, a method built from the ground up to attack that core problem of trading stress we were just talking about. So, what in the world is optionetics? Well, at its core, it's a way of using options like surgical tools to keep your risk super small. But the real secret sauce, the thing that makes it all work, is that last part. You predefine the risk and the reward of every single trade you make. That's the part that changes everything. And this is the perfect way to think about it. This isn't about gambling. It's about strategy. It's about thinking ahead, planning your moves and your counter moves before the market does a single thing. You're playing chess, not pulling the lever on a slot machine. So here's the key idea. Just imagine this for a second. You're about to place a trade, but you already know the absolute worst case scenario, maximum amount of money you could possibly lose. There are no scary surprises waiting for you. That certainty, that knowledge, it just erases the fear and the panic. And that lets you think clearly and actually stick to your plan, which is how you avoid all those mistakes that make most traders fail. Okay, but to play this chess game, you've got to know what the pieces do, right? So let's quickly break down the fundamental tools you'll be using. First up, the option itself. Now, the most important words on this slide are right, but not the obligation. This is huge. See, unlike something like a futures contract where you have to buy or sell, an option just gives you the choice. It gives you all the control without that heavy weight of obligation. And here is a fantastic way to wrap your head around it. Buying something called a put option is a lot like buying insurance for your car. You pay a small fee, the premium, for the right to sell your car, or in this case, a stock, at a guaranteed price if its value completely crashes. It's an incredible tool for protection. So the two basic types you'll hear about are calls and puts. And it's really simple. A call gives you the right to buy something at a set price. That's great if you think the price is going up. And a put gives you the right to sell at a set price, which is exactly what you want if you think the price is headed down. That's it. Okay, so you've got the tools, but how do you combine them into a strategy that actually wins? Well, the optionetic system boils it all down to these three winning elements. First, you have to become a bargain hunter. You need to get good at spotting when options are cheap or when they're too expensive. Second, you absolutely need a sound game plan, a strategy that works whether the market's going up, down, or just sideways. And third, and this might be the most important one, you need the discipline to actually stick to your plan and not let your emotions take over. Now, what's really cool is how this big picture strategy translates into a handful of simple, practical rules that pretty much anyone can follow. And these rules are designed for success. First, you buy options that have plenty of time on them, at least 90 days, so your strategy has room to work. Second, you get out before the last 30 days, because that's when time starts to really work against you. Third, and this is crucial, you cut your losing trades quickly. Don't hang on to them. And finally, here's a brilliant one for managing your winners. Sell half your position when it doubles. Let's just zoom in on that last rule for a second, what they call the free trade tactic. This is so powerful. When a position doubles in value, you sell half. Think about what that does. You've just pulled your entire original investment back out. So the rest of that position that's still in the market, that's all house money. It's now a risk-free trade. Psychologically, that is an incredibly liberating, low-stress way to let your winners keep on running. And this is just the perfect analogy for cutting your losses. Your trading capital is like your energy. You don't want to waste it trying to ride a tiny, fizzling wave all the way to the shore. No way. You cut it loose, you paddle back out, and you get ready for the next big wave, the real opportunity. So when we put all of this together, what do we get? We get to the low-stress takeaway. It all comes back to that initial promise, turning trading from a stressful gamble into a strategic game. It really boils down to this one simple but really profound mantra. All the hard work, all the thinking, it's done before you ever put a single dollar on the line. You make a detailed plan based on the rules, and then you just execute that plan with discipline. You take the emotion right out of it. And that, right there, is the big idea. The goal of a system like this isn't just to make money. It's to fundamentally change the entire experience of trading. By using options to perfectly define and manage your risk from the get-go, you shift the whole game away from fear and anxiety and towards strategy and execution. So that leaves us with one final thought. We spend so much of our time trying to predict the market, trying to manage what it's going to do next. But maybe the real challenge, the one that truly decides if we win or lose, isn't out there in the charts at all. Maybe it's about mastering the landscape inside our own minds.